Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 33 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you once again from the international headquarters of GSM Services right here in downtown Gastonia. And we're looking forward to having some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are highlighting another great organization this week and have Erin Wiggins and Sam Cook from Teens Changing Gaston County with us today. Erin is the program officer with the Community Foundation, and Sam is one of the members and a Gaston County student. Erin and Sam, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we are not going to waste any time. We're going to get right to it, and we will start with Erin. Erin, if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself, anything you'd like to share.
Okay, of course. Thanks for having us, Stephen. So I'm Erin Wiggins. As Stephen mentioned, I'm the programs officer at the Gaston Community Foundation. I've actually been there for 5 years now, and also a resident of Gastonia, so excited to be here and highlight what makes Gaston great.
Very good. 5 years. I can't believe it's been 5 years. Wow.
I know.
Sam, what about you, sir?
So I'm Samuel Cook. I am a student at Highland School of Technology. I'm in my junior year, and this is actually my third year in Teens Changing Gaston County.
Oh, wow. It's a long time. Is this your first ever podcast?
No, this is actually my second podcast.
I actually, you know what? I was going to assume that we had an expert podcaster on today. So maybe, Sam, stick with you. I mean, how did you end up getting involved with Teens Changing Gaston County?
Well, it's hard for me to exactly remember because it was back in 8th grade, and that seems like forever ago for me. But
yeah, tell me about it.
But I probably heard about it from a friend at school or my parents maybe. But I just remember going to the first meeting and not really knowing what to expect because I heard about what the program does and everything.
Okay. But
it was kind of intimidating at first, but once I found out what we do and got more involved in it, I just found out it's an amazing program.
Okay, very good. Erin, can you kind of share maybe, do you know the history of the organization and then kind of how you are now the person in charge of it?
Sure. So I'm actually not sure exactly how the program got started. It was a group of different nonprofits in the area, but I want to say that this is about the 17th or 18th year of the program. And throughout the program, there have been different organizations that we've partnered with to help us run the program, and it's obviously grown tremendously even just in the 5 years that I've been a part of the program. I think the students have done a good job of sharing about it with each other, and just it's really grown the program, and looking forward to many more years of.
Well, I know I became aware of it just because I've been involved with the Community Foundation since 2000 now, I guess, when the Next Generation Fund was started. So I kind of got exposed to it, but not necessarily, I haven't been directly involved. So, Erin, can you maybe talk about I'm not sure the mission is the right word, but what is it that you guys are trying to accomplish with this group? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was reading over some of these questions, I thought to myself, we don't actually have a formed mission statement.
That's fair. Yeah, that's
and
why
I think that's something that we should really work on. We'll have to come up with one at one of our meetings, Sam. But the goal is really just to teach teens about philanthropy and what that means, not just giving financially, but giving back in a volunteer capacity. Giving of your time, your talents, that it doesn't just mean you don't have to be wealthy to be philanthropic. Sure. You can do it. No, it doesn't matter your age or your background. It's an opportunity to get involved. And another great part of the program is we get to introduce the students to the nonprofits in the area and help them learn about the organizations, but then get the experience, that hands-on level that I think is really important to understanding philanthropy.
So where do the students come from? I mean, how do they, is it an application process? How are they chosen? And I mean, in what ages, if you don't mind?
It is an application process. We have, I believe there's 11 high schools in the area that are represented amongst the teens. We have over 40 students this year. Okay. We've never declined an application. We've always had great students that have applied, but I think that we'll have to start talking about how to really fine tune that, because it's hard to take 40 students
yeah, that's a big number. Yeah.
to different nonprofits. But I think that speaks to how much the students have enjoyed it and how great the program itself is. But it is for 9th through 12th grade students. So like Sam mentioned, he applied in 8th grade and started the program as a freshman. And then we, of course, have students that will do it all 4 years. And then we've had a few from the Gaston Early College, that 5-year program, that have done it all 5 years.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's very good. Very interesting. So this question is going to be for both of you. So, and I'm not sure this is, again, the right way to phrase this question, but can you talk about some of the initiatives, some of the things that you're doing, whether it's going to nonprofits, are there, again, just kind of share anything you can share with that?
Well,
Okay.
the main thing that Teens Changing Gaston County does is we have a $5,000 fund that the teens in the organization decide. They give up to $1,000 to teen service projects.
Okay.
From local teens, and so it allows teenagers who aren't even in the organization to get involved in the community and have their service projects funded, as well as giving the members in the organization the ability to see some of the grant application process and of the
that's interesting to get involved with that, to see how that does. So I'm understanding this right. So the Community Foundation is trusting teenagers with money.
That's right.
Oh, okay. Well,
But part
actually,
of that,
I've been on the board, so that might be better than, that might be better than when I was on the board, actually letting teenagers do it.
part of that too is teaching them about the power of endowment, because
Sure.
it is through an endowment that's established at the foundation. And so we talk about how the foundation operates and how we use our unrestricted funds and things to support organizations in the community. So that's another good teaching opportunity through the program.
So do you have monthly meetings, and how have you dealt with the pandemic? I mean, what have you had to shift and deal with all that? And then how often do you meet or try to get together?
Sure. So we do meet once a month.
Okay.
During the pandemic, we were virtual. We've always tried to, of course, go by the Gaston County School policies and abide by those. But then also, so many of our nonprofits are already dealing with vulnerable populations, and it made it hard for us to go and visit a lot of them last year. So we're glad to be back in person this year, and we've had a few places we've visited. Most recently, we went to Crisis Assistance Ministry and helped them package up some food. But we did, I think 2 years ago, started kind of looking at the program and realized that the hour that we meet every month, while it was a great time for them to go visit nonprofits or for us to have good discussions around the grant applications and things like that, it still wasn't, it felt like we needed more of a service opportunity. So we actually implemented a Saturday service day that we have about once a quarter, or at least 2 or 3 times a year. And what that's really turned into is we've adopted a garden plot at the Rotary Garden, and so it's been a good program for us to be a part of, because there's always stuff to do at the garden,
right.
Always, no matter what time of year you go. But then the harvesting has been fun too, and just a good opportunity for everyone to be able to participate in the project at once.
So that's good to hear. I mean, because I was part of the very beginning of that with my Rotary Club. So, and when Will Current was the big advocate for getting that done. So it's nice to hear that you're involved with that. This is a question. So, kind of looking back at the grants and the things that you've done or visited, can you think of an example of an organization or a individual or a family or something you've impacted, or some kind of anecdotal story that you can share with our listeners?
Do you want to answer that one? I can go.
So,
that might be a tough question.
Yeah. So we help so many of the. So when a student applies to the grant, applies to receive money from the Teens Changing Gaston County.
Okay.
They're not only signing up to receive money, but also service from us, because we like to follow up with the projects and volunteer with them and help them in ways other than just giving them money.
Sure.
And so we've helped with lots of different projects and different, and went to many different nonprofits. And so it's hard to really say one that stuck out to me more than the others, but just things like how we were at the food bank last month and helping pack meals for Thanksgiving for families who would not usually have that. Like, it's such like a time of like celebration, but for some people it's harder than others. Sure. And just being able to give back in that way that we can, it's been really amazing. And things like helping with the projects that are at the women's shelter, okay, and with Keep Gastonia Beautiful. It's just been an amazing experience to like help out with all these little things around Gaston County. And it really feels like we're making a difference in there.
Were these things that you were aware of in some of these organizations before you got involved with Teens Changing Gaston County, or has this kind of been some of them your first exposure to them?
Well, besides like Keep Gastonia Beautiful bumper stickers, I haven't really, yeah. I mean, it's hard there's not too many opportunities for teenagers to get involved with nonprofits. And
I guess that's kind of the point, isn't it, Erin?
Right,
to
exactly
expose
right.
them to all these things. Yeah, I think, was it last week we had Cam on? Wasn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll be released a week before this one is.
Perfect.
Yeah, and they do a lot of good. So, in matter of fact, I think even they even mentioned about some of the organizations like Teens Changing Gaston County coming and helping out with some other youth organizations. So maybe I'll start with you on this one, Erin. Can you share something maybe that you're most proud of accomplishing in your time with Teens Changing Gaston County, or is there something specific? I also kind of skipped you on that last question. Was there something that you wanted to share on that last question about an anecdotal story or anything, or did Sam pretty much cover it?
Sam definitely covered it. We have so many great nonprofits in the community I don't think that there is just one good story of how the program or the grants have affected the individuals that are awarded. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so can you narrow down something you're most proud of? Is it the kids you've impacted, or is there something that comes to mind that you're really most proud of accomplishing in the last couple of years?
Well, certainly the growth of the program, which I can't necessarily take credit for that. That's more been the students and their desire to be a part of a program that has that philanthropy aspect to it, or giving back, learning more about nonprofits or grants. But then I will say that the Rotary Garden that I mentioned, that's been a huge accomplishment for me personally, because I knew nothing about gardening. Right. But then just to see the kids get involved and really take like passion in taking care of the garden and helping on the work days. I mean, they will all show up on a Saturday service day to work at the Rotary Garden. And it goes far they're not just there to get their service hours or just because they have to do it because it's, part of the program, but truly work hard and enjoy it while they're there. And I mean, Sam can talk more to the garden too, because he's helped with that. But that was a good opportunity for us during the pandemic because it was outdoors. We could spread out. So it still gave us an opportunity to have some in-person get-together. Sure. And give back to the community despite not being able to do the program like we normally do.
Okay. Yeah, especially in COVID, because at that time, all like the volunteer organizations kind of didn't want a bunch of like young people coming in and like exposing everyone. But like the Rotary Garden was such an amazing opportunity because if you think of philanthropy, you probably think of a lot of paper and writing numbers about like money, but being able to like volunteer on such like a physical thing like gardening and being able to see the actual results, like the food that's grown there.
Yeah, and it's going somewhere specific to help. I agree. I think that when you can get your hands dirty, it makes you feel like you're accomplishing something, or at least it does for me.
That's right.
I appreciate you sharing that. So. Erin, come back to you. This is a question I really like to ask. Remember, this is a podcast about Gaston County and why Gaston's great. So, can you describe in your own words, why is Gaston County better? Because TCGC, said that correctly, is here.
Well, I think it's a unique program, one that I certainly wish that I would have had the opportunity to participate in when I was in high school. The community that I grew up in didn't have a program like this, and so I think that it's a unique opportunity for them to get involved, learn more about their community, and get that hands-on experience that I'm not sure is offered to many other students in other areas. But I also think that the program makes Gaston great because they're able to, like I mentioned, learn more about their community, but see the true generosity and experience that, which I think is something that is so unique about Gaston County and how generous this community truly is. And they get to experience that through the program.
Sam, anything you would add to that, or something that you and your peers, students, have experienced?
Yeah, I agree. And also, it's not only like the actual projects themselves that we're funding and the service that we're doing that's benefiting the community, because those benefited on like they obviously benefit it. But what's also happening is we're getting exposed to philanthropy and to all these concepts like service and getting involved in the community. And I really think it's like making the next generation of like nonprofit of like so as we grow up and enter the workforce and stuff, I think that we will definitely be thinking a lot more about like giving back to the community and service and philanthropy.
Is it fair to say that when you have, I think you said 11 different schools, is it fair to say, Sam, that maybe some of these you've got to meet some peers from schools maybe you may not have been introduced to otherwise?
Oh, definitely. It's an amazing opportunity to meet people from all over the county, and it's it's really interesting how the kids that you meet at TCGC are just so amazing, and it's really such a good opportunity to meet kids who are like-minded as you, and that
Sure.
you're interested in these sort of service and community, and it's just an amazing program for learning about all the different processes that happen in order to make our community a better place.
Yeah, to your point, Erin, there was nothing like this even in here, when I was growing up here in Gaston County. So it's really interesting and encouraging to hear this. So, Erin, this next question is for you probably. What do you envision this organization or program looking like in 5 to 10 years?
Well, I certainly hope it continues to grow. And I say that not knowing exactly what that would look like, because I think at some point we'd either have to split the groups into two or
Sure.
find some way to make it so that it's not such a large group. But I would certainly hate to limit our participants, because if they want to learn about philanthropy and be a part of giving back to their community, I would hate to have to turn someone away. So I think we'll really have to look at that as the program continues to grow and more of the students want to participate. But I also hope we'll be able to establish more long-time partnerships with organizations like we've done with the garden. I hope we'll be able to take on projects that are ongoing, that
Sure.
are a continuous volunteer opportunity for the students that participate.
Sam, what about you? Have you seen anything that you would say, I'd like to, for the next, in 5 years from now, the students that are in, I guess, middle school or elementary school now that might be involved with it? Is there something you would like to say, maybe this would be better or this would be different, or what you envision would improve the program in the future?
Well, I hope in 5 or 10 years the program it might be bigger, but I hope it's basically the same, because it's working so well and has giving us these opportunities to meet all these nonprofits. And I just don't know, it of course it'd be really amazing to see a lot more nonprofits and a lot more getting involved with a whole lot more organizations. And but honestly, just the way that the program works now with the grants and the whole application process, it already gets involved. So many teens have gotten involved in the community through it, that I just hope it's still around in 10 years. And at the way that it's growing, I definitely think it will be.
So, looking back, when you were in 8th grade, so let's assume that there's an 8th grader or 9th grader out there that's going to be listening to this, and they've never heard of Teens Changing Gaston County. And, you mentioned this at the very beginning, kind of when you first got started, you were a little intimidated by it. And I remember that. For me, I remember the first day I walked in. Well, I tell you what, the first day I walked into a Community Foundation board meeting, I was like, who am I? Why am I here? Or the first time I walked into my Rotary Club, it was very, even at the age of 30, it was very intimidating. And that was just a couple of years ago when I was 30, by the way. So what would you say to that student listening, and what do they need to overcome? What's the benefit? Why would you tell them, this is really something you should consider?
Well, it's such a beneficial program to like you and to the community, because even if you're like afraid at first about meeting so many different people, right, and getting so involved, it's never too young to start like volunteering and to start getting involved in the community. And I think that the younger that you're able to get involved in the program, the better, because you'll be able to meet more people and get more involved. And so I would say definitely just make the leap and just do it, because it's definitely worth it.
That's good advice. Maybe we should make sure we write that one down, and we can clip that piece right there and send that out to everyone, especially here. We're getting ready to start a new year. So this is for both of you. I mean, is there anything I haven't asked? Anything that I should have asked? Anything else you'd like to share before we shift gears a little bit to some really important questions?
Well, I would like to mention one thing about Sam. We talked earlier about if there was any specific initiative or something that this program had really started for either of us. And a couple years ago, I guess it would have been your first year, Sam, we visited an organization called TechWorks.
Yeah.
And Sam has a particular interest in STEM-related programs, especially as a student at Highland. But he took the initiative after that meeting to follow up with TechWorks and really establish a relationship with them to start volunteering. And now he's an instructor for some of their programs that they have there. And he's gotten really involved with the organization outside of TCGC, just on his own, taking that initiative, which, of course, is another goal of the program. We want them to find that area of interest that works for them, that they're going to continue to be passionate about. And Sam certainly did. And like I said, I think that's another goal of the program, is for them to learn that, I think the assumption is that nonprofits or, being philanthropic is more about food banks or the human service type needs, which are certainly important, but there are, a nonprofit in whatever field you can imagine. And Sam found that and got involved. And that's definitely a hope that I have for all of the students that participate, that they'll find what area really interests them and continue to volunteer long after they're finished with the program and graduate high school. And my experiences at TechWorks and working with all the organizations that I've met through there too, it's really been amazing, and it's like really defined like who I am and what I want to go into, because I've been able to get exposed to so many businesses and like technology from there. And I wouldn't have been able to even know that they existed without TCGC. It's such an amazing program for meeting the exact people in Gaston County that you they want to talk to and want to get involved with, because we were exposed to so many different organizations that if you really want to get involved and you really want to find a niche that you can really thrive in, you get exposed to basically all of that in TCGC.
So I'm not gonna let this one go. So that's really good. What do you mind me asking? Erin mentioned you're an instructor or having done some teaching or instructing over there, with related to what, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know. So I love to go into it. So basically,
I assume that's really good.
So TechWorks is an organization that is trying to bring tech businesses into Gaston County. And they do that through offering co-working spaces and also at affordable prices for startups, as well as offering a lot of instructional classes to the community on STEM topics. So, for example, this past summer, I developed and taught a video game design class to K through 8 students. And so video games have always been a passion of mine in designing them. And so through that organization, I was able to give that to younger kids and be able to give back. And just so through there, I've taught classes on programming and just a lot of my interests, which is what's amazing about it, is because it's service, but it's also doing what I like to do. So it's the best of both worlds. And I would not have had that without TCGC because I just would not have known they existed there.
So is that something you think you after high school is something you might want to pursue?
Oh,
something
definitely.
related to that, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I definitely want to go into computer science and business too, because through TechWorks, I've been able to meet a lot of different people throughout the county and talk to a lot of businesses. And it's really like sparked my interest in business, because I don't think that like a lot of teenagers get to like meet like business leaders and talk to them about all these things, and talk to them about like oh, which building are we going to move into, and this
right.
or this sort of things, and like all these opportunities that they're really like, there's nothing special about me. Anyone could have found these opportunities, and they're just here in Gaston County if you just know where to look.
So do you have a favorite video game?
I mean, this might be basic, but Minecraft, I mean, it's
Okay.
classic.
Very good. Is this too soon? I mean, can we get you an application on your way out?
I do not have a favorite video game.
Mine is probably, I'm a 80s Atari 2600 guy, so those classic games that might not quite have the graphics that we have today. So that's terrific. That's really encouraging, frankly, to hear that. So we're going to shift gears just briefly, and then of course, obviously, we'll come back to and finish up with some information on Teens Changing Gaston County to make sure our listeners know how they can volunteer or get their kids involved, and next thing you know, we'll have 800 kids that you have to deal with
right.
With Erin. So actually, I'm going to start with Sam on this question, and today we're going to call it something different every week. This is going to be we actually have someone younger than 20 in the room speed round of questions. Is that okay to call it that this week?
Sure.
Okay. Well, actually, Elizabeth almost younger than 20. All right, Sam, I'm going to ask, what is your favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
Okay, so it's between the two cookies, cookie dough or cookies and cream. I mean, that's an impossible question. I don't.
So you're going with two.
All right, can I go with two?
You can. You know what? I'm getting you a job application before we leave. You can do whatever you answer however you want.
So cookies and cream and cookie dough.
All right, very good. Erin?
I'm going to go with peanut butter ripple.
Peanut
my
butter
favorite,
ripple?
yes. And not the chocolate peanut butter ripple, but just the plain peanut butter
Okay.
ripple. Yes.
Is that like cup, milkshake, or just in a cone, or how do you like that?
Well, I usually get it in a cone, but I mean, I would take a milkshake too.
Okay.
Now, I will say, last time I was at Tony's, I saw them making a banana split, and I might have to change course next time and go with one of those instead.
I think I say this like every other episode that I go over there. I'm gonna do something different this time, and
You
I
never
don't.
do. Yeah.
I'm just a plain old chocolate guy. All right, Erin, Sundrop or Cheerwine?
Cheerwine.
All right.
Go with Cheerwine,
I
yes.
have to agree, Cheerwine.
Cheerwine. Okay. Sam, what's your favorite local restaurant?
Pita Wheel. Have you been to Pita Wheel yet?
I have been to Pita Wheel more than I would. It's very close to here, so it's
yeah.
more than I would like to admit, but it's very good. I love the Pita Wheel. Matter of fact, I might go today now that you said that. Erin?
Well, Sam stole my answer because I did put down Pita Wheel too. It's become a good place to go to with great outdoor seating, but certainly Web Kitchen as well.
Sure.
If you depending on what kind of I guess experience you're
Sure.
looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, listen, Web's great, and it's a popular. Actually, I bet if we look back at all the episodes, Web and Pita Wheel are probably the two most popular answers. And you know what? It's nice to be able to have locally owned choices. I'm old enough to remember we didn't have a whole lot of that.
Sure. And in downtown Gastonia, it's been great to see
Absolutely.
the people that brings to downtown.
It's always full. There's always people. The seats are always filled up at Pita Wheel.
Absolutely. So, Erin, favorite outdoor activity in Gaston County?
Well, I think especially during COVID, we all got outdoors a lot more, and we really spent a lot of time on the Carolina Thread Trail system, but specifically spent some time over at Goat Island Park in Cramerton. Yeah, stopped at Floyd and Blackie's for coffee, and then would walk the trail. And there's a great park there too, or playground.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's a great place.
Yeah, between Goat Island Park and the coffee and breakfast and the restaurants, you could spend a lot of time right in that little area.
You could.
And make a half a day or day of it.
Yeah.
Cramerton getting some press on this week's episode. Sam, what about you, sir? Favorite outdoor activity?
I have to agree, like the Greenway or the thread trails are nice to go biking on. But probably like growing up, it had to be Martha Rivers and that big wooden castle they had. That was everybody's favorite place.
Did you just say growing up?
Yeah.
I'm 51, Sam. That just sounds funny to the 51-year-old.
Oh.
All right, this is an extremely important question. This is my question, and it's the question that I am never going to stop asking. So I will start with you on this one, Sam. UNC, Duke, or NC State?
Well, college applications are next year, so I don't want to pick sides here. But off the record, probably Wolfpack.
Off the record? No, you can be on the record.
No.
With Wolfpack. Anybody can be on the record if the answer is Wolfpack. Because if you're focused on potentially STEM type stuff, that's a great,
Absolutely.
that is a very good choice. I mean, I have an engineering degree from NC State, so like anybody listening that didn't already know that, because I think I talk about it every week. Erin, what about you, ma'am?
Well, I'm a UNC Charlotte graduate, so I feel bad picking up from any of the three of these. I'm very proud of my alma mater.
Actually, I knew that, and normally when I normally remember when I know that to actually add that one as a choice. So my apologies. I normally would say UNC Duke State or UNCC. So my apologies. That is a very acceptable.
Well, my dad
answer.
is a huge Duke fan, so if I did have to pick, I was going to pick Duke, but I didn't know if that would get me kicked out.
All right, no family's perfect. Family's perfect. Of course, I think I say this every episode too. I have a mixed family.
Is that button only for if they say Duke?
No, we use it every now and then, but Elizabeth would use it for Duke for sure. Her family is all light blue, unfortunately.
That's okay.
Like I said, nobody's perfect. So, Erin, what is something very few people know about you?
I didn't do my due diligence and think of an answer for that one before this. Now
that doesn't get you out of answering, by the way.
Well, let's see. Okay. I think when talking about Gaston County and the people that are here, I think most people don't know that I grew up as a preacher's kid. So I think that's,
okay.
Yeah.
So Duke fan, would that be a Methodist preacher?
Baptist.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just assumed that the Duke fan might be a Methodist. So, but
Yeah.
that sounds more like Wake Forest, but preacher's kid. So
That's right.
I did not know that.
Well,
all right.
Good. That was a good one then.
Yes, it was. Sam, what about you? Your few years of life.
This one's always a hard one. I think something interesting.
You might be careful. Yeah, you might have friends listening to this episode. So.
Oh no.
I hope we'll have some friends listening to this episode because
I definitely will share. I'll be like,
because you're going to share it with.
Listen to this podcast a minute.
This will be a good one to share with Gaston County Schools too. You really get it out there.
That's right.
But something unusual that I've done is this past semester I've actually started studying Chinese because I'm really interested in studying abroad in college or something. So I've started studying Chinese, and I don't know if that's kind of
actually that's a great answer. And the more we talk, though, I'm just feeling less and less adequate as a student back in my day. Everything that you've done and accomplished, I'm just, wow. Well, Elizabeth will tell you that's how I feel around here all the time. Actually, everybody is smarter than me and knows more than me. Erin, how about a book you would recommend or a blog or article or anything that you follow that might be interesting to our listeners?
Well, I just had my first baby back in March, so I feel like my time to read has been very limited. And then it's been very focused on kid-related
Good Night Moon, maybe?
Yes. But I do feel very proud that I finally just finished a book post-baby that wasn't baby-related, and it was called Made. And I think it is now a show on Netflix as well, but it's a great book and really speaks to the challenges that single parents go through and homeless struggles and things like that.
Okay.
It's a great story of success.
Very good. I appreciate you sharing that. Sam, what about you? A book or something to follow online or anything that you would...
Is it cheating to say this podcast?
this is just getting better and better by the minute.
You're hired. You're
it
hired.
Is not. It is not cheating. But anybody who's listening already knows that.
That's true. See, I have really bad dyslexia, so I don't read often. But when I do get audiobooks, okay, I'm outing myself as a nerd here, but I listen to a lot of Star Wars books and a lot of oh yeah, you wear the Star Wars T-shirts.
So if you walk in my office right now, you would see Darth Vader, two stormtroopers, BB-8. So you're I'm with you.
But yeah, and just mainly a lot of Star Wars books. I've gotten really into them.
Very good. In matter of fact, just right before y'all got here, we record. Well, actually, our own hold is me telling silly dad jokes on our phone system, and we did Disney this week, and there were a few Star Wars jokes. So if you want to hear some silly, bad, corny Star Wars jokes, you can call into and ask to be put on hold, and you can hear me telling corny Star Wars jokes. So, all right, sorry. You talking Star Wars, you're going to take Elizabeth and I down a rabbit hole we'll never come out of. We will be here till next week. So listen, guys, I appreciate you indulging us on those Gaston County questions, but that is the people who know you and people that the board, the community foundation, and that's really what they want to know. So that's going to be the real reason people listen to this episode. So, Erin, I'll start with you. Again, this is a podcast about Gaston County. I got just a couple more questions before we finish up. So, besides teams changing Gaston County, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
Well, like I spoke to you earlier, the generosity that I have just been amazed by since starting the community foundation, the people that we have in our community that give and want to be involved, but so many of them just do it silently, which I think just shows that it's a true passion. And I didn't grow up in Gaston County, but now as a resident of Gastonia, I'm definitely proud to be here because it's a great community to be a part of. And there's so many exciting things happening here. Even in the 5 years that I've been working at the community foundation, I've seen how much the community has changed and grown and all of the wonderful things that are happening here.
A lot has happened in the last 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
More so than maybe the previous 10, 15, or even 20 years. A lot has happened. Sam, how would you answer that question? Why is Gaston County better? Why is, besides teams changing Gaston County, why is Gaston County such a great place?
Well, on a surface level, we have like amazing schools and like really good restaurants and food and a lot of like really good parks and outdoor places. But like deeper than that, like Erin said, like the people here are amazing. And it's also been amazing, like being involved in the community means I've been able to see like the growth happen because like you were saying, the last 5 or so years, it's been it's just been going up and up and up, and I see all the buildings downtown getting bought and turned into new restaurants like Pita Wheel, and it's amazing to see it grow from like when I was young to now. Like it sounds silly, but when I was younger, but to now,
fair enough.
To now, like I'm excited to see where it is in 10 years because I just think it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. Because even in COVID, like it's amazing that like COVID definitely hit Gaston County pretty hard, but still through that and getting over that, now that we're entering this period of like amazing growth, it's amazing that we just survived that and then went into this. It's really amazing.
But even through the pandemic, it was so impressive to see how the community came together to support each other, support our nonprofits, and I think that just speaks, like Sam said, to the people in the community.
No question that it is ultimately about the people. And listen, and you two are great examples of why there's two reasons why Gaston County is better off because the two of you are here and you're involved, and that really is what it takes to make a difference. So this is a question I'm going to start with Erin, and then I'm going to modify it for Sam. But looking back, I know this was just a couple years ago, Erin, what advice, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think I'd probably give myself the same advice a lot of times, just to kind of sit down and slow down and not focus so much on what's next, but really focus on where you're at. I think it's easy, especially when I was 20 years old, in college, I was so focused on, okay, where can I get a job? Where am I going to live? Then what am I going to do after that? And then I feel like you miss so much when you can just enjoy the moment and focus on where you're at instead of what the next step in life is.
Life happens while you're planning for the future.
That's right.
I don't know who said that, but I really like that one. All right, so Sam, since your involvement with Teens Changing Gaston County, I mean, how would you answer that question? Because obviously you can't look back to your 20-year-old self, and I'm not going to ask you to look back to your 10-year-old self, but what have you learned, kind of looking back to 8th grade to now, being involved with TCGC? What have you learned? What lessons have you taken from that you might take on as you decide what you're going to do after high school?
Well, I've definitely grown in my confidence and in my ability to talk with people and get involved, because back in 8th grade I was a very quiet kid, but meeting so many people throughout the community and all these great organizations, I really think that even more than in school, doing stuff like TCGC and volunteering at TechWorks has really impacted me personally and given me the confidence to want to pursue something like business, which is very people oriented. And I definitely think that all of the experiences I've had volunteering and being involved in Gaston County had a huge impact on just the way that I'm going to be as an adult, and I'm just really glad for that. So now I don't know what I would do differently, because I'm just so happy with just everything and how it's been with
good.
With
well, that's nice to hear. Yeah, and looking back at my 11th grade self, I can assure you I wasn't thinking about much philanthropy or doing anything to help much of anybody but myself, unfortunately. I can't just believe I said that on a podcast that we're recording. But, that's just the reality of how times have changed and the opportunities that young individuals are taking that maybe weren't there, but even if they had been there, I'm not sure I would have taken them. So any last words of wisdom or anything else you'd like to kind of end with before we close this one out?
I don't think so.
Y'all done a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
Where can listeners go to learn more about the organization, get involved, anything to share? So make sure we get that out there.
Sure. So you can go to the Community Foundation's website. It's cfgaston.org, and learn more about the foundation in general and the programs that we offer, but specifically Teens Changing Gaston County. The applications to participate in the program are usually released in May and then due back in the summer.
Okay.
So for someone who's interested in participating in the program next year, they can keep an eye out on our website or social media for that application.
And if you're interested in doing a service project, our grant application period ends in February. So by the time this released, you'll still have a couple weeks left. So
okay. This will be probably the second week maybe of January.
Okay.
When this is released,
yeah.
we're a few episodes behind because sometimes they might get canceled or recording. So we try to keep a few weeks ahead. And for the listeners, we're recording this 3 days before Christmas. So right here near the end of December. Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for your time, and this has really been good. And I'm going to do my normal thing that I do at the end of each episode is my own book recommendation and a quote or thought for the week. And the book I chose this week is by a gentleman named David McCullough, who is actually an author I really, really like. He's, I guess you might call him a historian, a lot of great biographies. But one book that he wrote that I really like, and I think it kind of applies, I like to think it applies to Gaston County in some ways. It's called The American Spirit, What We Are and What We Stand For. And I actually, of course I'm biased, but I think Gaston County is very indicative of what we are and what we stand for here in that American spirit. And kind of sticking with the same type of theme, my quote for this week comes from Winston Churchill, who I think I've quoted him on a previous episode, but he's one of my favorite gentlemen that I've read a lot about and studied a little bit. But he said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts." So for me, that's courage and resilience. And if we haven't learned anything the last 21 or 22 months, it's that sometimes we do need a little resilience, a little grit, to kind of just grind through some of these experiences that we have. So think about those books, and then the books that we heard about earlier in the podcast. So again, to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. Please spread the word if you can about the podcast, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at our email, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please follow us on our social media platforms. And apparently, giving us a good rating helps the podcast get noticed, so please give us a 5-star rating. If you don't give us a 5-star rating, you can still listen, but this one may get, with Sam on here, we may get 7 or 8 on this one. But many thanks again to Erin and Sam for being our guests today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Amy Anderson and Elizabeth King from GSM Services, and edited here locally by the Sumner Group. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.